My name is Alara Wynn, and for most of my life, I believed love was proven through sacrifice. I wasn't wealthy. I wasn't powerful. I wasn't the kind of woman people noticed when she entered a room. I was simply dependable. The one who stayed late, who gave more, who made sure everyone else had what they needed before I even considered myself. And my son, my only child, was the center of that world. His name was Caleb. From the moment I held him in my arms, I promised myself one thing. No matter what happened to me, he would never feel the hunger, fear, or loneliness I once did. His father left when Caleb was 6. No explanation. No apology. Just a suitcase by the door and silence that never healed. So it became me. Me working double shifts. Me skipping meals. Me pretending exhaustion was normal. Me smiling through worry. Caleb grew up bright, charming, and ambitious. Teachers loved him. Coaches praised him. Friends admired him. And I adored him. When he got into university, I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. I sold my grandmother's wedding ring to cover his first semester fees. When he wanted an apartment near campus, I took out a loan. When he called me late at night saying he was stressed, I stayed awake until sunrise just to listen. I thought that was motherhood. Then Caleb met Serena. Serena was polished. The kind of woman who looked like she belonged in magazines. Perfect hair. Perfect smile. Perfect family background. Her father owned a chain of high-end real estate offices. Her mother hosted charity galas for fun. Serena spoke sweetly to Caleb, but to me, she was always polite in the way a queen is polite to a servant. I noticed it the first time she came over for dinner. I made roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and apple pie from scratch. Serena took one bite, dabbed her lips, and said, "Oh. This is comforting. Very homemade." Caleb laughed. I laughed too. But something inside me tightened. Still, when Caleb announced they were engaged, I forced myself to feel nothing but joy. "She's wonderful, Mom," he said. "She makes me feel like my life is finally upgrading. As if love was a ladder." Then came the wedding planning. Serena wanted something extravagant. A vineyard venue. A designer dress flown in from Europe. A guest list of 500. Fireworks. Live orchestra. Caleb sat at my kitchen table one night, rubbing his hands together. "Mom. I need your help." I already knew what that meant. "How much?" I asked softly. He hesitated. "Serena's parents are helping, but they think it'll look bad if we don't contribute too. And Serena has standards." Standards. "She deserves her dream wedding," Caleb continued. "And you've always said you want me happy." I looked at my son's face. The boy I raised. The boy I loved more than my own breath. So I nodded. "How much do you need?" Caleb swallowed. 70,000. My chest felt like it cracked. 70. Caleb. "I know it's a lot," he rushed. "But Mom, please. Serena's family will notice if we don't match their level. I don't want to look like I come from nothing." I stared at him. Come from nothing? Did he mean me? I should have said no. I should have reminded him of bills, responsibilities, reality. But motherhood is a strange prison. Built from love and guilt. So instead, I whispered, "I'll figure it out." And I did. I emptied my savings. I refinanced my house. I took on overtime until my hands shook from fatigue. I paid. Every deposit. Every vendor. Every urgent upgrade. The venue cost more. The flowers cost more. Serena changed the dress twice. Caleb never asked how I was affording it. He never wanted to know. The wedding week arrived like a storm. The vineyard was breathtaking. White tents, gold lights, towering floral arches. People in designer suits and silk gowns arrived with laughter and champagne. I stood near the entrance in my simple navy dress, watching the world Caleb chose. Serena's mother breezed past me without greeting. Her father barely nodded. And Caleb. Caleb looked right through me as if I was part of the decorations. I told myself it was stress. It was wedding chaos. It didn't mean anything. Then, the night before the ceremony, I overheard it. It was late. The rehearsal dinner had ended. Guests had scattered back to hotels. I realized I'd forgotten my shawl inside the reception hall. So I returned quietly. The lights were dim. Candles still flickered on tables. And near the bar, I heard voices. Caleb's voice. Serena's voice. And some of their friends. I froze behind a pillar. Serena laughed softly. Your mom really paid for all this? Caleb chuckled. Yeah. She insisted. A friend snorted. Man, that's wild. She's basically your personal bank. Serena's tone sharpened. Honestly, I don't get why she acts like she matters so much. She's just there. Caleb sighed, almost amused. Mom doesn't matter, he said. The words hit me like a slap. She's predictable, he continued. She'll do whatever I need. She thinks sacrifice equals love. Serena laughed. Well, at least she knows her role. After tomorrow, you won't have to deal with her much. My family's world is different. Caleb replied with a grin I could hear. Exactly. Tomorrow is my real beginning. I felt the air leave my lungs. My son. My child. Mocking me. Reducing me. Erasing me. I clutched the pillar so hard my nails hurt. They kept talking, unaware. Just make sure she doesn't embarrass us, Serena said. No speeches. No emotional nonsense. Caleb agreed. Don't worry. I told her to just sit quietly. She's lucky she's even invited. Lucky. Invited. To the wedding I funded. Something inside me went still. Not anger. Not tears. Just silence. Because in that moment, I understood something terrifying. I had raised a son who saw my love as weakness. And worse. He was proud of it. I walked away without making a sound. Back to my car. Back to the dark. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. For a long time, I sat there staring at nothing. Then I whispered to myself, barely audible. Okay, Caleb. My voice was calm. So that's how it is. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I made a decision. A quiet one, the kind no one notices until it's too late. Because if Caleb believed I didn't matter, then he was about to learn what happens when the person holding everything up finally lets go. And the wedding. The dream wedding. Had no idea what was coming next. The next morning came too bright. Sunlight spilled across the vineyard like nothing had happened, like laughter hadn't cut me open the night before. The world moved normally, birds chirping, staff rushing around with linens, florists adjusting centerpieces, musicians warming up their instruments. And I moved through it like a ghost. I dressed slowly, hands steady. I pinned my hair the way I always did. I looked into the mirror, expecting to see a broken woman staring back. But I didn't. I saw someone, awake. For years, I had been sleepwalking through motherhood, believing love meant erasing myself. Not today. My phone buzzed. A text from Caleb. Caleb. Make sure you're there by 2. Serena doesn't want distractions. Just sit quietly. No good morning. No thank you. No warmth. Just instructions. I stared at the message, then placed the phone down gently, as if it were something fragile. Then I made the first call. Not to Caleb. Not to Serena. To the wedding coordinator. Her name was Maribel, a sharp woman with a clipboard and a calm voice. Good morning, I said. Oh. Mrs. Wynne. Everything is perfect. The ceremony will be stunning. Yes, I replied softly. About that. I need to confirm something. Of course. I inhaled. Every contract, every payment, they're all under my name, correct? There was a pause. Yes. You're the primary payer. The invoices, deposits, everything came from your accounts. Thank you, I said, voice smooth. One more thing. If I withdraw my authorization, what happens? Maribel's voice tightened slightly. Well, legally, the event cannot proceed. Vendors require cleared payment. Without it, services stop immediately. I closed my eyes. Understood. Then I made the second call. To my bank. The woman on the line spoke professionally. Mrs. Wynne, how may I assist you? I need to freeze all outgoing transfers related to the Vineyard event account. A pause. Keyboard clicking. That includes catering, entertainment, floral, venue final payment. All of it, I said. May I ask why? I looked out the window at the vineyard where my son planned to begin his real life. Because, I replied quietly, I'm done paying for people who don't see me. The woman hesitated. Very well. The transactions are halted. Something in my chest loosened. Not pain. Relief. I wasn't done. Third call. To the venue owner. A man named Grant Holloway, who had personally shaken my hand when I signed the contract. Mrs. Wynne, he greeted warmly. Big day. Yes, I said. Grant, I'm notifying you that I am canceling today's event. Silence. Canceling? Yes. Mrs. Wynne, the wedding is in hours. Guests. I know, I said. But I will not fund it. The contract is under my name. I withdraw consent. Grant exhaled sharply. I understand. I'll notify the staff. Then I hung up. My hands did not shake. My heart did not race. I felt calm. Because the truth is, revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes. It's simply stepping away. At 1:30 p.m., I arrived at the vineyard anyway. Not as a payer. Not as a servant. As an observer. Chaos was already blooming like wildfire. Staff were gathered near the entrance, whispering urgently. Catering trucks idled, drivers arguing with coordinators. Maribel was pale, phone pressed to her ear. Then I saw Caleb. He strode across the grass in a tailored tuxedo, jaw clenched, eyes furious. He spotted me instantly. Mom. He marched up, face flushed. What the hell is going on? Vendors are pulling out. The florist is refusing to unload. The venue says payments aren't cleared. I tilted my head. Oh. His voice rose. Don't know me. Did you do something? I met his eyes. Yes. Silence slammed between us. Caleb blinked. You froze the account? I did. His mouth opened like he couldn't process it. Why, he hissed. This is my wedding. I nodded. It was. His voice cracked. Mom, are you insane? Serena's family is here. 500 guests are here. Are they? I asked softly. Caleb grabbed his hair. Fix it. Fix it right now. I studied my son. The boy I raised. The man who laughed last night while saying I didn't matter. And I smiled. Not cruelly. Just, sadly. You said I didn't matter, I reminded him. His face went rigid. What? I heard you, I continued. You told Serena I was lucky to be invited. That I was predictable. That I was just there. Caleb's throat bobbed. Mom, You were right, I interrupted gently. I was there. Always. His eyes widened. And now, I whispered, I'm not. Behind him, Serena appeared. Her dress was breathtaking. White silk, diamonds at her throat, fury in her eyes. "What is happening?" she snapped. Caleb turned wildly. "It's my mom, she." Serena's gaze landed on me like a blade. "You cancelled my wedding?" I shrugged. "I cancelled the wedding I paid for." Serena's lips parted in disbelief. "You can't do that." I smiled politely. "I already did." Serena's mother rushed forward, voice sharp. "This is outrageous. Do you know who we are?" I looked at her calmly. "No," I said. "And I don't care." The room, or rather, the vineyard, felt like it stopped breathing. Serena hissed. "Caleb, tell her to fix this." Caleb's voice trembled. "Mom, please. Just restore the payments. We'll talk later." I stepped closer, my voice low. "No, Caleb. You'll talk now." His eyes darted around at the guests arriving, phones in hands, whispers spreading. "Mom. You built your dream on my sacrifice," I said. "You mocked me for it. You erased me for it. So tell me." I leaned in. "Why should I keep funding a life where I don't exist?" Caleb's face crumpled. "I didn't mean it," he whispered desperately. I was stressed. "I was joking." Serena snapped, he was being honest. Caleb whipped toward her. "Serena, stop." But Serena didn't. She pointed at me, voice icy. "You are ruining his future because you can't let go." I stared at her. "No," I replied. "I'm ruining nothing." Then I turned back to Caleb. "I'm giving you the future you chose. Without me." Caleb's eyes filled with panic. "Mom. I need you." And there it was. Not love. Need. I nodded slowly. "Yes," I said. "You always did." I stepped back. Then I reached into my purse and pulled out an envelope. Caleb stared. What is that?" I handed it to him. "My final gift." His hands shook as he opened it. Inside was a single document. A withdrawal notice. From every loan. Every co-signed account. Every financial tie. And at the bottom. One sentence. "Effective immediately, Alara Wynn will no longer provide support beyond legal obligation." Caleb's breath hitched. "You can't." "I can," I said softly. "And I have." Serena's father stormed forward. "This is disgraceful. We will sue." I smiled. "You can try." Then I turned away. And I walked. Behind me, Caleb's voice cracked like glass. "Noem." But I didn't stop. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't walking away from my son. I was walking toward myself. And that was when the real fallout began. My heels pressed into the gravel as I walked away, each step quieter than the chaos behind me. The vineyard was still beautiful. The flowers were still perfect. The guests were still arriving, dressed in silk and arrogance. But the illusion. It was cracking. I didn't look back. Not when Serena screamed my name. Not when Caleb shouted like a child drowning. Not when the sound of hundreds of murmuring voices rose like a storm. I kept walking until I reached my car. I sat inside for a long moment, hands resting on the steering wheel, breathing slowly. My phone vibrated. Once. Twice. 10 times. I didn't answer. Because for once, silence was mine. Then, a knock on my window. I turned my head. Maribel stood there, face pale, eyes wide. "Mrs. Wynne." I rolled down the window slightly. "They're falling apart." I nodded. "I expected that." Maribel swallowed hard. "Serena's family is threatening to call the police. Caleb is begging the bank. The caterers have left." The officiant walked out. I tilted my head. And the guests? Maribel gave a strange, shaky laugh. They're recording everything. Of course they were. Nothing spreads faster than humiliation in expensive clothes. I leaned back. Thank you, Maribel. You did your job. She hesitated. May I ask something? I looked at her. How did you stay so calm? I paused. Then I answered truthfully. Because this wasn't sudden for me. Maribel's expression softened. This was years. Yes, I whispered. It was years. Then she stepped away, and I drove. I didn't go home. Home had been built around other people. I went somewhere else. Somewhere I hadn't visited in years. The small townhouse on Maple Street. The one I'd kept quietly in my name. The one Caleb didn't even know existed. I unlocked the door. Dust floated in sunlight. It smelled like forgotten independence. I walked inside, sat on the floor, and finally let out the breath I'd been holding for a decade. And then my phone rang again. This time, the caller ID made me freeze. Unknown number. I answered. A man's voice came through, calm, professional. Mrs. Wynne? Yes. This is Attorney Daniel Mercer. My stomach tightened. Yes? I represent the Holloway Vineyard and several vendors involved in today's cancelled event. I closed my eyes. Here it comes. I wanted to inform you, he continued, that legally, you are within your contractual rights. The event was under your financial authorization. I blinked. Excuse me? There was a pause. Then, softer. I also wanted to tell you something unofficial. I sat up slowly. What? Daniel's voice lowered. I was there today. Silence. You were? My sister is one of the wedding photographers, he said. She called me in a panic. I arrived during the confrontation. My throat went dry. And I watched a woman finally stop being used. Something in my chest shifted. Daniel exhaled. I don't know what your family has done to you, Mrs. Wynne, but I want you to know. He paused. You're not the villain for refusing to bleed quietly. Tears pricked my eyes. I didn't cry. Not yet. I didn't do it to hurt them, I whispered. I know, he replied. You did it to survive. We hung up. And for the first time, I felt understood. 2 days later, the internet had done what it always does. Clips of the vineyard disaster were everywhere. Bride's wedding cancelled by groom's moem. Mother ruins son's big day. Rich family implodes in public. But the comments? They weren't what Serena expected. They weren't calling me evil. They were asking. What did they do to her? Why was she paying for everything? Why did the son allow his mother to be humiliated? Serena's family tried to spin it. They released statements. This was an unstable woman. She acted out of jealousy. She couldn't accept her son growing up. But then, the truth arrived. A week after the cancelled wedding, Serena went live. She sat in a designer robe, eyes glittering with rage. And she made one mistake. She said. She was always just the wallet. Caleb and I only invited her so she wouldn't cause problems. She was never really family. The internet exploded. Because cruelty is one thing. Cruelty recorded is another. Sponsors dropped Serena's family business. Social circles turned cold. And Caleb. Caleb called me every day. At first, angry. Then desperate. Then broken. Finally, he showed up at my townhouse. He looked like someone had scooped the life out of him. His suit was wrinkled. His eyes were red. When I opened the door, he whispered, "Mom." I didn't move. Caleb swallowed. I lost everything. I nodded. You built it on sand. His voice cracked. Serena left. Silence. She left? He laughed bitterly. She said I embarrassed her. That marrying into my family wasn't worth it if the money wasn't guaranteed. I watched him carefully. And what did you feel? He blinked. At first? Rage. Then his face crumpled. Then, relief. He sank onto the step. She never loved me. I said nothing. Caleb looked up at me, eyes wet. She was using me. I exhaled softly. Yes. He flinched. And you, he whispered, used me too, didn't you? The question hit like a knife. I stared down at my son. No, Caleb. My voice was quiet. I loved you so much I forgot to love myself. His tears spilled. I didn't know, he sobbed. I didn't see it. I thought you'd always be there. I crouched slightly, meeting his gaze. That's the problem. He froze. You thought I was permanent, I continued. Like furniture. His face twisted in shame. I'm sorry. I nodded slowly. I believe you. Hope flickered. But believing you, I added, doesn't mean returning to who I was. Caleb trembled. So, what now? I stood. Now you grow up. His breath caught. Without me paying for your life. He flinched. Without me fixing your mess. He whispered. I need my mom. I looked at him. You need to become a man who doesn't destroy his mother. Silence. Then Caleb whispered. Will you ever forgive me? I paused. Forgiveness is complicated. Forgiveness is not erasure. Forgiveness is not forgetting. But it is release. I'm already forgiving you, I said softly. His eyes widened. But I'm not returning. Caleb sobbed. And for the first time. He wasn't crying because he lost money. He was crying because he finally understood the cost of taking someone for granted. Months passed. My life changed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. I traveled. I read books in cafes. I slept without anxiety. I stopped answering calls that drained me. I started saying no. And something strange happened. People began finding me. Women. Mothers. Wives. People who had vanished inside duty. They wrote messages like, I saw your story. I thought I was alone. And I realized, this wasn't just about Caleb. This was about every woman who was taught love meant sacrifice until nothing remained. One afternoon, I received an invitation. A charity board. Women rebuilding after financial abuse. They wanted me to speak. I stood at the podium, lights warm, room silent. I said, I thought my worth was what I gave. I paused. But I learned my worth was what I refused to lose. Applause rose. Not for revenge. For awakening. And Caleb? Caleb didn't disappear. He didn't become a villain. He didn't become a hero. He became human. He went to therapy. He sold his luxury car. He took an actual job. He learned what it meant to earn. And 1 year later, he sent me a letter. Not a text. Not a call. A letter. Inside it, 4 words. I see you now. And at the bottom. Thank you for leaving. I stared at those words for a long time. Because leaving was the greatest gift I ever gave him. And the greatest gift I ever gave myself. That night, I sat on my porch. The air was soft. My phone buzzed. A news notification. Serena Delaney engaged to new investor. I smiled. Of course. Some people never change. I deleted the notification. Because Serena was no longer my story. Caleb was no longer my burden. And I was no longer invisible. I lifted my glass of tea toward the quiet darkness. And whispered, To freedom. For the first time in my life, I wasn't surviving. I was living. And somewhere far away, a wedding dress still hung unused. A vineyard still remembered chaos. And a son finally understood. The woman you call mom is not a wallet, is not a shadow, is not a guarantee. She is a person. And when she walks away, the world you built on her sacrifice collapses.